Byron, who's find someone that's probably got bigger biceps than him.
Oh, we found some ellies, just a female and a youngster. Don't know if there are others around. I'm sure there would be. It's unusual just to find two elephant together like this. No, we're having a wonderful morning. Byron has been lost and he's no longer with us. His gremlins have come in, and so we just actually recently spotted a big bull elephant that is just through those bushes there. I wonder if it's our same friend that we started this morning's proceedings with. It's not that far from where we saw him, so it could very well be that same bull elephant. I can't see it nicely enough to confirm or deny. Let's see if we go back a bit, Via. Maybe we can get a better gap through all of that. The wind is just getting up even more. Come on, Rusty. There we go. I've got to kind of coax Rusty into reverse these days, which can be interesting. I think it is him. Looks like him. VM, if you get a gap, let me know. He's kind of moving into a thick, dense area. Is there a gap in there? Yes, there's a gap. It looks like the exact same bull that we saw this morning. So he's just moved along and kind of shifting slowly east, and he's doing it inside the thickets, which is exactly where I would expect him to be walking. These thicker areas are perfect habitat and place for an elephant to go into when it's windy like this. The trees break the wind up a little bit, and it's not as bad as being right out in the open like he was to start the day. So it's always a good place to look for ellies when it's windy like this. Is very thick bush, and in drainage lines is also another place where they'll often hang out. But you can see he's into the grass and having a really good feed, and so these guys are going to be loving the grasses that have grown over the course of the last 2 weeks. There's going to be lots and lots of nutrition in the seeds, and because it's been so underutilized, these areas, in the form of very few buffalo have moved through, and the grasses that have grown are going to be there just for the ellies' enjoyment. This grass is a little long now already, even for things like buffalo and zebras and wildebeest, and so the ellies will be the ones that will tuck in to this longer grass layer, and they'll absolutely love all the seeds that are going to be around, particularly on the panicum. So if they can get themselves lots of that guinea grass, they're going to be really enjoying that, and those seeds are sticky and sweet and covered in lots of sugars, which elephants absolutely love. So I'm sure this fella is going to be a happy boy feeding along in those thicker areas. So the canine nutritionists, no, elephants are not ruminants, and you can see the size of their stomach. They have a very different body structure than something like an impala that Ali saw just now. Ali had the impala, which is sleek and slender, and you'll find that they'll be ruminants, and they have a small stomach that they regurgitate and rechew and then swallow. Whereas these guys, big round bellies, and they are what's known as a hindgut fermenter. So it's basically like a massive vat that this food goes into. Lots of it isn't digested and it's defecated out the other side, and that's why they eat so much, is because they don't have that ability to regurgitate, rechew and absorb every bit of nutrients out of what they're actually getting. So they have much larger stomachs, and that allows them to feed off massive amounts of food, and it's why they roam big distances in order to find the food that they need. But no, not ruminants, unfortunately. A ruminating elephant would be quite cool. It would be funny to see one ruminating, and I wonder if they would be as big if they were ruminants. Probably not, because if you look at all of our big animals, they are all big bulk eaters. They are not ruminating animals at all. So rhinos, hippos, elephants, and then the only one that is of a smaller scale is a zebra that doesn't have that same system as the rest of the antelope we have out here. Beautiful male though. You can see also how he's not even having to flap his ears today in order to stay cool. He just holds his ears out, but if wind goes over them, that cools the blood down, so he's not going to be doing too much flapping at all today. He's just going to hold his ears out every now and then when he feels he needs to kind of cool his body. It'll be a very easy day to be an elephant. Walk around, feed, cool, perfect conditions. It's amazing though this morning there's been a lot of alarm calls when it comes to go away birds. They seem to be kind of calling a lot, and I wonder if maybe it's because there might be a few birds of prey that are using this wind to hunt this morning. It's been odd that all the grey go-away birds have been calling. Now, Jim, you're asking about elephants' eyesight and whether or not it's the whole colour spectrum that they can see. So I probably don't think that they see as vividly in terms of colours as what we do, but their eyesight in terms of depth and in terms of some of the colours is very similar actually to ours. So they probably see most shades, maybe just not as vivid as what we do. They will see greens and yellows and blues and those kind of things, and so they'll see the world very similar to what we do and the way we see it. But what a beautiful specimen this guy is. He's kind of just coasting along. I don't think he's going to want to get out of these thickets too quickly, so I'm pretty sure he's not going to move towards us in any hurry. He's going to probably just sit and take it very easy inside there, find himself a nice place to find food and just kind of take up big swathes of grass as he goes. It's interesting though, his behavior is different to when it's not windy. At the moment he's quite alert to anything. When the gusts of wind come through and our scent blows to him, every now and then he just turns to face us. Whereas if it was a situation where it was a calm day, you'd probably find at this distance he wouldn't actually worry about us at all. He would probably just ignore our presence and kind of move around without worrying. But every now and then the gust of wind probably carries our scent to him, and he kind of just flares his ears out and looks in our direction just to check what's going on. And we saw it when we found him this morning as well, is that he's a lot more nervous than what he would be if it wasn't as windy. Good. Well, our male's going to carry on going, and is he going to push a tree over? It looks like he's going to push a tree over, actually. But while he kind of moves off and into the thicket, let's send you back across the alley and see where she is and what she's gotten up to.
Well, we've done our loop around Treehouse Dam and Shibamo in that area just to see if we could find anything. But the tracks we were looking at earlier, they actually ended up being hyena tracks. So they've been pretty blown out by the wind. Part of the reason why we couldn't tell straight away. But not other than that, not too much happening here. It almost seems like the wind has picked up a little bit now. But in some spots there might be a blue sky, so I hope that there will be a little bit of hope for this afternoon, that things will calm down. And as soon as the wind calms down, then I'm sure more things are going to become a little bit more active and come a little bit more out into the open. Now I think what we're going to do is now go check twin dams, just under the hope that perhaps Hosanna got tired of Little Gowrie and he came back. Maybe he fancied a drink around here, or water might taste better, I don't know. So we're going to head that way, see if perhaps we can find anything that might be braving a drink in this cold conditions. Hopefully someone will. Tingana is still a little bit too far for us to even entertain the thought of him coming onto this area. And well, like we said earlier, he's got a bunch of impala and all sorts of different prey species all around that open area. So there's really no reason for him to move from that specific spot until he catches something at least. There's been lots of hyena activity. No doubt they're heading towards where the Styx Pride was, as I believe they made a water buck kill yesterday. So they've been quite entertained with that. The Nkuhumas, on the other hand, we're not too sure, but maybe we'll find out a little bit later. Nostrich, I think wild dogs are the creatures that have the most pungent smell. An elephant and musk also, it's quite strong, but I think wild dogs definitely. And I remember on a clear occasion that funny enough, Tristan and I were driving a group, and we both happened to come a certain area at the same time, and there were no tracks. There had been no wild dogs on that particular day, but when we both crossed, we were just like, they're here somewhere, because I can smell them. And it's a mix of perhaps dung that they smell like, with dirt and I don't know what else, but it's definitely one of the strongest smells that we have around here. So I think wild dogs win the prize for sure. They are the ones that can be told apart, and it's just a very distinctive, characteristic smell. But haven't smelled that today, although I would really like to. Not because it's a wonderful aroma, but because it perhaps could indicate that there was some predator life around here. Which not really. We have the first animals we've seen in a while. Yay! Go doves! Or any life for that matter, says LuNFC. Yeah. Well, at least this is double life. And at least someone's braving it. You see, we say that the predators are actually the real fierce things. But you guys, braving the wind on the road, you are the real winners of the day. I love it the way they walk. They're always so funny. It's almost like a mix between a penguin and, I don't know, like a bull. Very funny things. Right, well, at least someone's brave enough to come down and start looking for seeds and little bits of food that might be around. But as entertaining as they might be, I don't think they will be up to that much besides walking on the road and looking for grass. So I think maybe what we'll do is, because we're not too far away, we're going to head on to Jenna. She lives in nice hole in a dead tree, so maybe she'll be around. That'll be nice to see how she's faring, because she hasn't been spotted for a while. And I know Tristan mentioned a while ago that maybe she's got little ones, maybe found this morning. Alright, I've had my cap blown away a few times already this morning, where we're just driving and it just falls away. Like, it's all tangled up in my hair, so it's not like you can go back and hit Ferg. That wouldn't be ideal. This is the road where Hosanna pretty much walked out of yesterday evening, and I think Tristan's already checked in this particular area, so probably no tracks to look at. But whew. Alright, we are almost there, Jenna Jackson. Please be there. We would like to see some fluffy life for the morning. Oh, but this is quite funny. We've got a lilac-breasted roller just to our side that is looking quite grumpy with life. All fluffed up, trying to keep some warmth in there. You're not that happy today, are you? Well, that's a nice view. They normally fly away as soon as we see them, so at least the wind is playing one in our favor today, just to be able to admire the pretty colors. Are you lovely? Sorry. It's very pretty. Off we go. Well, at least we got a view of one of them. It's very hard to get them to stand still, and even for photographs, it's almost like they sense that you, I don't know, maybe they feel like we're stealing their soul whenever we take a photograph of them. As soon as they feel like somebody's looking at them, it's just like, no! And they fly away. There are some impala running about in between the bushes, but I don't think it's really anything. I think it's, whoa, it's just the wind. Alright? Together. I wonder if we're going to have another cyclone or something, or if something's coming. We'll probably need to check the weather channel, as it definitely feels like it. Alright, Jenna Jackson, please be home. Are you here? Aw, doesn't seem like there's anybody home. Nope, nothing, just the darkness of the empty home. Oh well, maybe she's tucked in somewhere else. Right, we are gonna... where are we gonna go? I think we're gonna head to Twin Dams, but while we do that, let's head back to Byron and find out what he's up to.
Well, I've just made my way off of Chitwa, and I'm coming back onto Djuma. So I'm going to start driving around here. So we had a little bit of bad signal where we were, right on the other side of Chitwa, and where we had all those elephant. There were other elephant there. It wasn't just those two. The rest of the herd were nearby, busy feeding. Because it is unusual to see young elephant, a female with a calf that young, by themselves. So there was a There was a herd around there. Now there have been, sorry, let me just change this quickly. There were a lot of questions coming through regarding Tingana and how he's looking and the potential threat of that new male Hukamuri. You know what, Tingana he was looking good. He did look a little hungry, but he fed the other day, so it's not too bad. I think maybe it's just 2 or 3 days later he gets hungry again. So that's why I was trying to look for some food. And in weather like this, I wouldn't be surprised if he does manage to catch something a little bit later. And in terms of that Hukamuri, after seeing him, you know what I think it is, and I've seen this before with leopards, younger male leopards. They tend to be a little bit better condition, especially when they get to about 4 or 5 years old. Better condition, and they've got that wild look about them. I think it's like, well, they want to now establish a territory for themselves. It's instinct kicking in. Now you've got a male leopard like Tingana who's been around for a long time. He's done very, very well in terms of mating and having a lot of offspring and having big territory for so long. Now this new male comes in and he's unsure, maybe Tingana's unsure of this Hukamuri, and that Hukamuri is looking to challenge, looking to try to set up a territory for himself. So it'll be interesting, I think, if they do really meet up. I'm not sure if they've fought already. I don't know if some of you have seen them fighting yet. But, also the older leopards, they've been around, so they know how to defend their territory. That's the other thing. You can't beat experience. But it will be interesting to see. But that Hukamuri male did look like he was in good condition. But Tingana's not looking too bad. He's not looking too bad at all. To areas, and that's good. New genes. Hopefully very successfully. There's always going to be a change in nature. That's one thing we need to remember. I am enjoying this cool weather though, and it's made it so much better finding that leopard. I think I would have been a little miserable if we didn't see a big cat this morning. Oh look, the elephant's always great to see. A lot of antelope this morning too. Not as many birds, and I think again this wind doesn't help birding. It doesn't make it easy, that's for sure. Oh, speaking about birds, Ali's doing quite well with her birding this morning. She's found a raptor in the tree.
We have found one of them is flying, and also being very brave up there. A lot of, it seems like you are right. Seems like there's another one. Seems like another Wahlberg's flying around. Perhaps we're looking at a youngster, although your colors seem fine. And you don't seem to be that young, to be quite honest. But I have seen 2 pairs of Wahlbergs around twin dams before. You can hear them there, that ding, 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 ding. That is them, and I think that's what we're looking at, 2 different pairs, because there are 2 that are flying just behind us. So unfortunately, because of the roof, we're not going to be able to show the 2 other ones, but this is the one that we think is the pair of the one that's sitting on the tree. There we go, they're making their calls every now and again, and you see they're struggling even with their wind. Even with the long tails that Wahlbergs have got, they're not having a very smooth sailing. There we go, they're still there. Yeah, you definitely don't look like a youngster to me. You can hear them all around. I think maybe the birds... Oh, I see way more up there now. I think finally the wind, or not the wind, but the air is starting to warm up a little bit. So maybe they're all being clever and wanting to start catching the thermals and also use the air and an advantage to start looking for food. Because now I can see 1, 2, 3, 4 different Wahlbergs up in the sky. And they're all calling. I wonder if perhaps they're not going to have a bit of a grumpy moment. You see, there's... I don't know if you can... no, they're a little bit too high, aren't they? Unfortunately, because of the roof, we cannot really shoot into the sky. But I can tell you, above this one, and not too far from there, are about 4 more Wahlbergs flying. So, it's quite a puzzling moment. And I'm actually getting blinded by staring up at the sky. I think there will be a little bit of sun coming up. Did you pluck some? The leaves of the jack. All the way up into the sky with this wind. Not easy to maneuver around such windy conditions, and you can see that the Wahlbergs on the trees almost. Alright, well, good job at doing that. We are going to carry on, see if perhaps we can find anything else around this specific spot. At least we know that the birds are around, some of them. Chitty, Chatty, Mag, well, they can all take advantage of it, but I think the ones that rely on the thermals the most are the vultures, because they are some of the heaviest ones. So that's why they go in very big circles, and they just takes them a while to start moving, because they prefer to ride the thermal than waste all that energy for them to get as high as they should to then start looking for food. Now, I think in this particular case, they are just riding whatever wave they can, and taking advantage of it, but no, they don't have to. They are a lot smaller than the vultures, so they don't have to wait for the thermals like perhaps a vulture will have to. And also, I think this is a very cold. Just something green and slimy, and I cannot wait to find out what it is. Let's go over to him.
Well, it is green and slimy water, basically. So it is a massive algal bloom that has taken place in one of the little pans that we have. It's really quite amazing, actually, to see it and to see how it's affecting only one little water source. And it really is like sludge on top of the water. If you look at the pan behind it, it's absolutely clear. So there's the contrast between the two pans. One is completely clean, and the other one has this algal bloom that has just gone absolutely crazy. And so very different looking water, and you'd find that probably the one at the back will be drunk a lot quicker than the one in front, and this one in front probably will dry, and you'll find that that green will actually cake the mud at some point. So it's just a type of algae that's grown. It's probably very nutrient-rich water. A lot of elephants probably have defecated. The buffalo herd has been here. They've urinated, defecated around here. And with the sun that we had prior to this rain, it causes these algal blooms to kind of go crazy and for this sludge to develop. But it really is very thick. You can see even with the strong wind where the grass is kind of moving about, it's not really breaking through too much. There's still quite a bit of it in that area and still creating a even coverage, which is pretty amazing. So very, very cool to see. And there's kind of lines and things where you can see some of the insects have tried to walk across it, and various other things where maybe frogs have moved through. But it's just sometimes good to appreciate these little things like that and the beauty that is the difference in water colors. Good. We're going to carry on though. We're going to keep moving. It's a morning of difficultness at this stage. We really are struggling to find anything that is kind of alive at this stage. I mean, we've had the bull ellie and we've had a few kudu, but other than that, it's been really quite quiet. There's been very few birds out, and because of the wind, you would imagine that there would be very few birds. You won't see too many of them. The birds of prey won't be too active. I don't think it's not really many thermals around. And so it's just been a tough morning from that standpoint, and it always is like this when you get these kind of conditions. Cold fronts with wind is generally a tough morning. It generally means that we kind of struggle a little bit for some of the animals, but that's okay. You need these kind of days, and then it makes you appreciate when you have the really good days and you see a lot of different stuff. So, you know, we can't complain too much. On Saturday we had a crazy Saturday. Was it Saturday? I think it was Saturday, or Friday. Friday or Saturday. Both of them actually were pretty good, and so lots of cats were around and we all got spoilt a little bit, so it's all good. You, like I say, you've got to take the good with the bad, and bad days lead to you appreciating things that much more, and sometimes you take a closer look at other things that you wouldn't normally look at when it's busy times, or when you're having really busy days. So it's sometimes good to have days like this. If only the wind would drop, though. It's just the wind that is making things a little uncomfortable. Right. Now, Byron, who I'm surprised this hasn't happened prior to today, loves to do a little coffee break while on game drive or safari, and so apparently he's got his coffee out and has invited all of you to go and join him for a cup of coffee.
Well, you know what, Tristan, it's such a beautiful view at the moment. I mean, I can actually see the clearings right across on Arethusa from here, and we opposite side of Djuma. You might be able to see it over there. Yeah, there they are. So really lovely view this morning, and well, I thought we better have our little coffee break. I haven't had a coffee break for a while. I think it's been too hot and too early, but this weather's perfect for it. So coffee break. But see, I actually left my thermos at home, and rookie mistake. But fortunately, well, my girlfriend did lend me her thermos, so that was very kind of her. Thank you, Stace. So the coffee is only because of her. But we'll see what we can find. I'm excited because we found so much already, and it's been a great morning. I was really happy to find Tingana. I do enjoy spending time with those big male leopards. It's such a privilege, because often you can go for ages without seeing one, and they can be so elusive trying to look for one. I mean, I've tried to track leopards where they literally hide in a bush and you don't see them. You walk past the bush and they don't move, they don't make a sound. Again, other times you will get a growl and you'll know they're in there, but you won't see them. You do have to be careful when tracking those big leopards. Is it poke or coke? Sorry, I didn't hear that properly. Okay, poke. You asked about structural differences between the patterns between male and female leopards. No, I don't think so. Not at all. So I think it's safe to say that that with the leopards, each leopard has got a unique pattern. It's not to say that females will look different, completely different to males. In terms of rosettes and spots and that, they look the same, if that makes sense. But obviously the pattern, where the rosettes are placed and the spot pattern and everything, that will be unique. That will be completely different. So, yeah, there won't be. I'm trying to see if I got an image of Tingana here, and if I can show that. That was Tingana this morning, and I just wanted to speak about a few things regarding his face. So, if you look, firstly, okay, you can tell it's an old leopard. You can see by the ears, and if you have a look at the top there, you see how frayed those ears are. They've been bitten by flies, probably bitten by other leopards, both sides. So that's a good sign of age. That very dark nose. Let's try to get there. That very, very dark nose. You see that? Scarring on the face. All signs of age. Even the whiskers look a little damaged. And now this is that spot pattern that I was referring to. See, So if you look just above the whisker line over there, those three. Now there's one dot up at the top there, and then there's 1, 2, 3. Actually, let me do this. This might be a bit easier. Sorry, give me a second, Sense. I'll be there with you now there. Okay, so get my stick fixed here. Oh dear, I'm just breaking everything now. So that dot over there, obviously very clear dot, and then 1, 2, 3. There might be one back there. So let's call it 1, 2, 3, 4 spot pattern on this side, and then on this side it looks like there's a little one up there. You could possibly count that, and then 1, 2, 3. So 4, 4, maybe I would say, but this possibly blends in that one big spot over there, which is quite easy to recognize. Now, like I say, this will be different on every leopard. Every leopard is different and unique. But yes, of course, on the body itself, on the rosettes, and I mean, if you have a look over here, there'll be certain markings, and I know a lot of you have seen different markings on the leopards. But just to have a look, I mean, to ID big male leopard with a thick neck, big head, and also the age, how to tell general age. So those frayed ears, a very dark nose, scars around the face, whiskers looking a little shriveled, not beautiful, long, healthy whiskers. But he's still a magnificent animal, absolutely beautiful. And it is really, really special to see some of these older male leopards around. But, Poke, just getting back to your question, the males and females, there's not going to be a clear difference in the pattern that will tell you that it's a male or a female. They'll look similar, they will look similar, but obviously there are rosettes, and that is unique, just like our fingerprints. Oh, a flap. Sorry, Sens, I thought you found a bird. Okay, we'll fix that shortly. I'm just going to try fix this flap at the moment. It's coming over. While I do that, let's go across to Ellie. What is she up to?
Well, we were watching a squirrel furiously digging for gold in the elephant dung, as it was after the half-digested fruit. But unfortunately, it got the half-digested fruit and then it ran away. So now there's no more squirrel. Well, that was not friendly of you. I think maybe let's head back onto the road, see if we can spot it again. Now, going back to Chitty Chatty Meg's question about the thermals, seems like the air is warmer up sky than what we thought, because we've been seeing more and more birds going up. So I'm sure they're all taking advantage of the hot currents of air, just because it means that they can save energy. So when you see the birds flying up in the sky, a lot of the times you don't see them flapping their wings. They're just gliding, almost like surfing in the air. So that's probably when they've caught some sort of current, and it allows them to go and move around and just go higher without they having to spend any energy. So yes, the very big birds, or raptors in general, they tend to ride the waves, but some of them are smaller species, are not restricted to the thermals to move around, as perhaps there's a squirrel, as perhaps some of the other ones would be. Okay, I'm gonna try and position us in a way that we can see it. It's just hiding behind the bushes, so maybe if we give it 2 minutes or so, it'll come back, because it was definitely with a fruit in its mouth. There we go. Oh, you're being very quick. Where in this tree are you gonna go and live in? It's on the branch, in the middle branch to your right. There we go. Very sneaky. Carrying it. You are quick. Well done, Ferg. Alright, I think now it's definitely lost. This is not the one that we saw earlier. This one had, I don't know if you saw, the fruit was a lot greener than, well, you didn't see the last one, but this fruit was very green, I should say, and the other one was half digested, so it was brown and covered in dung. So I think this squirrel is related to the other one, and perhaps this little bush and termite mound with the jackalberry trees where they live. but I don't think this is the same one that Ferg and I saw just before that was digging in the dung. And now, according to popular beliefs, squirrels do play a very important role in the dispersal of seeds and making sure different trees grow, because they do bury the seeds, and inside of the fruit or of certain species of tree, there are some nuts that are very nutritious and high in protein and just wonderful for them to eat. Maybe that's the one that we were looking at earlier. You see the one on the termite mound? Seems like we found all the squirrels. And they do help with the dispersal of different tree species, because they forget where they buried them. And either somebody else steals them from them, or they actually just germinate. I think this is the one that we were looking at, because the fruit that it's eating, it doesn't seem as green. Is that yummy? You had to... Okay. Somebody started making an alarm call. Lots of birds started flying around, and then the squirrels hid. Don't know what we've seen. Can hear them. Maybe a snake somewhere, and that's what gave them a fright. I cannot see any birds of prey around here. There's a starling. Looks like a Cape Clossie starling to me. Did you see something that we should all be worried about? Probably not. Probably just the squirrels. Yeah, he's not making any alarm calls at the moment, but he was earlier, and as soon as somebody made that alarm call, then everybody started running. Alrighty then. Seems like no more life around here. They've all gotten scared and gone for... maybe he's just gone in there. No. Right, I can hear some mongoose as well around here. So here's where all the little things have been living. But I cannot see them just yet. Now the mongoose have almost like a chirping noise. And I would assume it's the dwarf mongoose that are somewhere around here. And we heard them earlier, but I can't see them now. I think maybe we're just going to have to carry on. I think perhaps whatever it is that they were alarming out, the mongoose are also a bit wary of, so they've all moved off. Not anyone to see around here. Alright. Well, that was a nice sighting of a squirrel carrying its nut and going crazy in the tree. That was actually a nice surprise. Now, squirrels are also highly territorial creatures, just as leopards and lions are. And they tend to live in bigger groups, family groups, and they all tend to be related. And then the males are the ones that disperse and go into different areas looking for mates. But they are also very, very grumpy creatures towards one another, and they can get into very crazy fights if there's an invader that's trying to come either into the tree where they live in, or just their general territory. And who'd have thought so, for such a little animal to be so feisty? Probably the little ones are the feistiest one. Right, I'm going to carry on looking for little things that are out and about, but while we do that, let's head to Tristan and find out how his drive is going.
Well, it's going okay. I mean, we just had a nice sighting of a martial eagle that flew overhead and went down. So we're actually trying to find it again. It went in this direction, or roughly in this direction, but we can't see where it landed. So it landed somewhere around this area. We're trekking all the big trees to see if we can find a martial eagle, because they are amazing birds. And so I think it's the same one that was that we saw on a duiker kill around Treehouse last year sometime. It's hanging around that similar area, and they are pretty resident birds, so if you do have them in the area, you tend to see them quite regularly in the same places. But can't see where it's gone. It seems as though it must have flown a little bit further south than our boundary, because we're right on the southern boundary at the moment. So it seems as though it's gone a little further than what I initially expected, which is a shame, because it would have been nice to show all of you a martial eagle. But other than that, we're doing much like Ali's doing, is we're pottering about and just trying to find small things, anything really. It's not much is happening. So Neen, you're asking about grey go-away birds and where they build their nests. So as far as I know, I mean, and I actually thinking about this, I'm not 100% sure, but as far as I know, they tree nesters, so they nest inside trees. I think they probably make use of maybe holes in trees. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on this, but I would actually be quite keen to read up on it, because I have never really thought about it, and it's something that you would think we would think about, given that it's a very common bird. So I'm not 100% sure, and I'll have a little check. But I mean, just the fact that we drive around here every single day for day in, day out, and we don't see them sitting on nests, would indicate to me that they probably are tree nesters more than anything else. So, well, that's what I would think anyway. And maybe they're not. Maybe they don't nest in holes in trees. I know there's very few birds that do, and given their size, it would have to be quite a big hole in a tree. But I've never seen one actually sitting on a nest itself. So I would be interested to know what kind of nest they build and whether or not it's in certain types of trees, what the kind of situation is for them. What have we got here? No, those are old lion tracks from a few days ago, so those are not worth following. It's probably from that male and the Inkuhumas the other day when they came through. And I believe Shadulu female has been seen on the southern side of Arathusa airstrip, so she's quite far away from where we are. So we won't see her probably in the next couple days. But no sign of Hukamuri anywhere. Apparently he was last seen yesterday on Arathusa, which generally means that he normally comes kind of back this direction, but no sign of him apparently this morning, and no one actually really knows where he is. So he might pop out. Wouldn't that be? That would be a nice last-minute leopard to have, as just Hukamuri. Although I must say, Hukamuri, as much as there's something about him that I like, there's also a bit of a nightmare having him around at the moment, because he's causing mass amounts of unsettledness in this area. I was just saying to Wiem, if you think in 3 months of him, well, not even 2 months of him being here, we've lost kind of 4 regular leopards on this area. Now you might be asking, what are 4 regular leopards? Well, 4 regular leopards would be Shadow, Not Barbara, Tundi, and her cub. So those are the 4 that we're kind of being seen quite often, who are not being seen at all nowadays since he's been kind of moving around in this area. So as much as it's nice to see new blood, it's also upsetting the apple cart, so to speak, and making our leopard viewing a little bit more difficult than what it was. I suppose we were spoilt at one point to have Tundi and the cub here and just relaxing for as long as they did, and, you know, kind of moving around right in the center of Djuma. It was very nice to have a leopard on the doorstep that you knew would be there every single day. But alas, I suppose this is the way things go. You've got to have a regime change, and you've got to have things kind of mixing and being different from time to time, and it's all good for, I suppose, the genetic variety within the leopards of this area. But it's not come at a great time, because not only... Oh, hello. What's wrong with you? Why are you trumpeting at me from all the way over there? Hold on, Liam, let me go back a little bit. There's going to be a better gap, I think, through here. Is there a better gap? Yes. So it's a rather grumpy elephant. It's trumpeting at me from over there. Got its ears out. I haven't done anything. I just drove past. I'm sorry. Now back to feeding again. It's obviously just with the wind is unsettled. Most of the elephants will be. You'll see most of them will also be secreting from their temporal glands. So they don't like the wind very much, and it makes them a little stressed. And so most of the ellies will be secreting there and showing display signs like that with the ears out, and kind of giving us a little bit of a rumble and some sort of trumpeting behavior. Let me go back a bit further for you, Vim. Still in quite thick bush. Let's see, if I go back I might get a view. Yeah, somewhere there, Vim. Yes, there we go. Now he's just moving around looking for fruits and trying to see what he can find in the grasses. And young bulls like this often are a little bit more temperamental, if we want to call that. Avon wishes elephant tusks do grow back if they are broken below that lip line. So if it's outside of the lip line and where you can actually see the tusk, when they break they will continue to grow. It just will be a different size to the other tusk, and often it grows in a funny way, and it kind of will be a little bit, you'll still see that break mark. It takes many years for that to get sort of worn off. But if it breaks above the lip line, so inside where there's that sort of lip segment, then you'll find that no, it doesn't, because the nerve then normally gets damaged and then it doesn't grow back at all, and you'll find then that's when you get these one-tusked elephants like we see from time to time. Now, these two bulls, I wonder if these are not the two that Ali had earlier. Actually, Ali's right in front of me. I don't know where she wants to head, but she's kind of right in front of where we are. So I wonder if these are not the same two that she had earlier this morning that were pushing each other around. Looks like it could be. Two young bull elephants often are a bit more temperamental, and you can see that he is most definitely a bull. If you were wondering and doubting my assumption that he was a male, he is showing everybody that he is a male at the moment. Well done, covering it up. Good lad. We don't all want to see what's hanging out all over the place. So Ali says, no, not the same two from earlier. Interesting. Well, I suppose there are a few bull elephants around at the moment, and so not surprising that we are bumping into others as well. Right. You two, have a delightful day. Behave yourselves. Don't push each other around too much, and look after one another. One's got a bit of a dirty bottom. I wonder if he's been eating too many fruit recently and now has a little bit of the runs, because there's dung all over his backside, which is not very commonly seen in elephants. You see it a lot in buffalo, but in Ellies you don't see it very often at all. Indeed, Louise, it is delicious. It's a wonderful thought, isn't it? Right, now contemplating runny elephant tummies, let's send you back across to Ali, who's just in front of me. She just turned around and drove off this side, and see what she's going to be doing for the rest of the morning.
Well, I'm just looking for little things once more, but we ended up bumping into Tristan and the elephant, so we decided to turn around and change locations so that we can go somewhere else. And not too sure where we're gonna head. I am hoping that wherever we do go, there will be a big, beautiful thing waiting for us in the road, so who knows what that'll be. I feel like I'm making my wish pretty broad. So maybe we'll see about that. Now, oh, you know what we could try? We saw a barn owl. I don't remember now if it was yesterday evening or the night before, and it was not too far from here. So I just want to maybe go around that same road, and perhaps we'll be able to catch a glimpse of that owl. It would be quite nice if we manage to find it, as it's a very beautiful owl, and it is that night was the very first time that I had ever seen that owl out in the bush. Now that it's light, actually let me show you on the book so that I can specify which owl we were looking at, because I'm not the biggest birder, but I absolutely love owls. I don't know what it is about owls, I just want to see them all. So I am hoping that when we head to Botswana on this leave, that we're going to be able to get the pearls fishing owl, which is a very high bird on my list that's been missing. Right, none of you. Now, this is a pearls fishing owl, the one that is my nemesis that I haven't been able to see. But the one that we saw, ironically, is the one that's just underneath the barn owl. It's the western barn owl. This is the one that I'm going to try and look for. Hopefully, who knows, in this crazy weather, maybe we'll get lucky. Although they tend to roost and nest in holes in the trees, so maybe we'll get lucky. That would be wonderful if we did manage to see one. And you see, it's an easy one to spot because of this very almost flat head, and it's a very common species of owl. You find different ones all over the world, or at least species of barn owl all over the world, so they're quite common. They're very pretty, so hopefully we'll be able to see them. I am hoping. Come on, owls. Now we're gonna have to check every single nest. Hopefully we'll be able to see one. And I would love if by any chance we manage to bump into a little nest for either bar owlets or pearl spotted owlets or scups owls. They are my favorites, and I've always wanted just to see them peeking through this little hole in a tree, and I haven't been that lucky so far. So hopefully now will be the morning. Maybe now we'll pay a little bit more attention to certain holes in the trees and we'll get lucky. Hello, beautiful torchwood. Such interesting trees, torchwoods. They're all almost like grow towards the sun, but then they didn't, and they just started twisting. It's almost, I don't know, maybe it's a grown version of a sunflower that instead sort of started turning and then it got all tangled up on itself. Now, this is the road where we saw that barn owl flying away, but it was a little bit further down the road where it was a little bit thicker. So who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky, maybe we won't. But at least it gives us something to look forward to. What is that there? Mind plays tricks on you when there's so much wind. Everything that moves, especially in the distance with the branches of the tree, you almost feel like it's the tail of something moving, or it's perhaps something that's moving through the bushes. And you think that there are certain things there, and then when you get tired of looking in that direction, you're just like, oh no, that's just a branch moving. Then you pay attention, and it's actually an animal that's somewhere around there. Right. Right, I'm going to be very careful with this road, see if we do manage to find this owl. But let's head over to Byron and find out if he's on quarantine yet, getting ready for the breakfast ahead.
Ali, that's not very fair. I'm not on quarantine. I'm at Vuyatela Dam. I'm just having a look around here. Wow, there's a massive terrapin on just in front of those Egyptian geese on the bank over there. Wow, that's a really big one. Look at that, it's massive. It's probably one of the biggest terrapins I've ever seen. They're weird creatures, they really are weird creatures. I was also thinking, and Senzo said we should maybe go and check for that chameleon that we found yesterday. I wonder if it is still around in that tree. I'm not sure. It might be a bit difficult to find it now. I need to remember exactly which tree it was in. But I mean, I'm sure it would have moved by now, especially because of all this wind. Hoping to see some interesting birds around here, but like I said, I think in this weather it's a bit difficult to bird. It's still very windy. Egyptian geese. I think this pair of geese are always here. I always see them around the dam when we come down here. But like I said, I think I'm going to go and check on that tree where we saw the chameleon, just to see. Maybe we see it during the day. That would be nice. Then I'm sure this afternoon one of us will try and see if we can find Tingana again. I'm sure we'll hang around in that area. It was just I think after we found him, it got a bit busy. That didn't sound like there were many other predators found, so obviously everybody decided to come to our sighting, which is okay. We all share out here. Sure, it's wind. Yeah. I think the animals have the right idea about a windy Monday morning, staying in bed, and I've got proof. I've actually got proof. Have a look here. Even this impala has thought he's not interested in getting up. He's just hiding there in the thicket, lying down, not interested. He's thinking, is this weather is average. I'm going to hang around here. We won't disturb him. But it's amazing how animals do react differently depending on the weather. Weather plays a huge role in movement of animals. But we still had an incredible morning. Leopard, all those elephants. There's been plenty of elephants around. You know, I can do a game drive where we just spend time with elephants and I'll be happy. Well, Senzo and I've got big smiles on our faces because we've had a great morning. It sounds like Tristan hasn't been as happy. He hasn't found a leopard yet, but I'm sure he'll have luck this afternoon. But let's try and go and cheer him up a bit.
Well, I'm glad you've had a good morning, Byron. It's always good at least when somebody has a good morning. I'm glad that you managed to find a leopard and to have ellies, which means that it was pretty much a good morning for you. I just missed your honey badger, otherwise it would have been a perfect day for Byron. Byron absolutely loves the ellies, and while he won't admit it, he secretly loves leopards too. And any time he sees a leopard, he generally has a good day. So I'm glad that he's had a good day. It's just been quiet for the rest of us. It's not been as... I mean, we've had ellies, which have been nice, and nice big bull ellies. Other than that, it's just been a kind of nothing to really go on. So, you know, it's when you get these drives where you track animals, you know, there's an animal in that area, and there's kind of... You actively search. So, you know, it's one of those things. It's the way it goes. It's part and parcel of being out here. Like I say, quiet days make you appreciate the good ones when you get them. More ellies to look at in front of us that are coming out. So another 2 bulls by the looks of things, which I think Ali's in front of me. So I thought she maybe took a different road, but she hasn't. She's on the same road as what I am. So we're just following Ali around at this stage, but that's okay. There's the 2 bull ellies that are busy walking off, and well, there's no shortage of male elephants around, that's for sure, and that's partly why Byron is beaming from ear to ear, as he loves bull ellies, and I know why. They are epic animals, and we get spoilt at this time of the year with the maroolers around for them to be, you know, they are here a lot, and we see them a lot, which is very cool, and we get, like I say, spoilt with lots of ellies around in this area. Now, these 2 males, funny enough, are a little bit bigger than I would think to hang around together. As often you find that the bigger males kind of like to be on their own at this time of the year, but these 2 seem to be quite tolerant of one another, and they're not small. There's also 2 birds of prey coming in here. You see these 2, Vildi? Are these white-backed vultures? They look like white-backed vultures that are coming in. So they're busy circling about. Yes, white-backed vulture for sure. You can see that white bar behind, and VM's doing a sterling effort, because in wind like this, it is not easy to follow a bird of prey being blown about behind a whole bunch of trees. I'm pretty sure they'll come out on the side, VM, with the wind blowing out. Maybe let me just try go forward. There we go. So to follow that around is pretty good work to get that right. Well done, Vildi. That's very cool. So there goes our vultures, busy gliding away in the wind. And while we watch our vulture glide off into the distance, let's send you back across to Ali, who's right next to that ellie bull that we just saw.
We are, and funny enough, these are the first elephants we saw this morning, so it's good to see that they've carried around, also walking towards quarantine, although I suspect they're not that interested in the smell of our breakfast, but rather in the rotting fruit smell that's all around us. It's very tasty for them. It's lots of sugar around, and they've actually almost been like a dog with a bone. The elephants keep coming to quarantine just because they know there's such abundance of food that it's all very easy to get. All they have to do is pretty much use their trunks to vacuum up the marulas, and then they'll be very happy. You guys have an interesting relationship, and just by looking at them, I don't think, well, they're my fruit, not yours. I think that's exactly what's happening. The one that's at the back seems to be slightly bigger than or older than the one to the right. James, I'm not sure which other plants fruit in late summer. I haven't seen too many sour plums or white berry bushes with their fruit, so there's a possibility that they are still coming, or perhaps I missed it altogether in Djuma, and they're only going to come a little bit later on. But I think in terms of fruiting season, it's starting to come to an end. I don't think there will be too many plants that will carry on producing fruit. Like I said, the only ones that I can think of is the sour plum and the white berry bush, just because I haven't seen them fruit all that much. And those ones are quite tasty, and I know a variety of creatures like it, and even humans eat it. Although the sour plum is, as the name suggests, very sour, so it's not the most delicious one to eat. And funny enough, I don't think I've ever seen an elephant eat it. But I think that's probably about it. I have a feeling the jackalberries could be producing some fruit still, but they're so small. I think elephants, I don't know if they'll be that happy with the effort. Oh, sorry, elephant just got a bit of a fright with the flaps of our roof. Now you managed to claim your marulas down here, didn't you? It's definitely not moving away, and it's got almost that sleepy elephant look to him where you don't really know how they're still eating when they're about to fall asleep on their feet. It's almost like they're sleep eating all the time. Now he's doing one of my favorite things that elephants do, and I don't know if you managed to catch a glimpse. It's when they grab a marula, they throw it in their mouth, almost like when I do when I'm eating M&Ms. There we go. Instead of being gentle and putting it back into their mouth, it's almost like they're eating candy, and it's hilarious. There we go. You see? I love it when they do that. Do it again. Come on. Now, I think he's being a little bit shy, but often they'll throw them from a certain distance, so that's even better. Come on. Yep, there we go. I don't know if you saw that flick of the tip of the trunk where he goes poop, and then throws it back in. Now you're being greedy. I saw you got 2 there. Now, it's no surprise that a lot of different creatures like the squirrel we were seeing earlier, the francolins, and just all sorts of other little things, all sorts of other birds come to the elephant dung and start looking for food. It's a perfect place because the food that they're going to find in there, potentially also the marula fruits, are going to be a little bit easier to crack. It's going to be a little bit easier to perhaps get to the nuts inside of the seeds because they have gone through the digestive system of the elephant, and there's an initial breakdown of everything that surrounds the shell casing. So I think it's easier for everyone to eat it, and it's just interesting how we would probably never ever think of doing that because we are not that way, but other creatures obviously love it. Tristan was mentioning that I made a chocolate death for everyone in camp yesterday. Not really any secrets. It's just a Venezuelan recipe that I use. So perhaps you guys will be able to find it on Google. It's called, it's the hot chocolate recipe for Savoy. Savoy chocolate, which was owned by Nestle in Venezuela. Savoy is spelled S-A-V-O-Y. So that was the recipe I used. And that's probably the one that you should use. It is, however, I must warn you, not a healthy version of the hot chocolate. I don't think even the elephants would be able to deal with it because it becomes very, very thick and delicious, and you necessarily pass out after it. Yeah, not for the faint of heart, as Lou is saying. But it was definitely needed yesterday, and I feel like maybe we'll be brave enough to have a little bit today as well. Perhaps maybe we will add some amarula in it, take one from the Book of the Elephants, and just add a few drops of amarula and have the very famous chocorula that everyone has when they come on safari. Because, well, elephants are clever and marulas are nice for a reason. Hello, boy. Are you going to come and give us one last look before we finish for the day? Seems like he might. He's being very happy there. And it's just been a pleasure to enjoy the company of the elephants, at least this morning, and the little things that have been all around us. And, well, it was very good to see Tingana hunting and out and about. I'm sure that's really exciting, as we've all been a little bit concerned about his physical condition and how he's been doing. But hopefully we'll be able to catch up with him this afternoon, and, of course, with everyone else. See you guys tonight.